Hello, my name is Amritha and I'm going to be showing you how to use the coding program Scratch. In this video, we'll go over the basics and how to make a simple animation. To start off, after you log into your account, you'll see the main screen, and when you click on My Stuff, you'll see all the projects and different studios. So when you click on New Project, it will open up to a blank canvas for your work. There are many main operations that you need to know in order to operate through Scratch, and the first set have to do with the character. All the characters in Scratch are called sprites, and the sprite that I have right now is the cat. They all have a default name of sprite and then a number, but you can change the name right here. You can also choose whether you can see the sprite or you don't see the sprite. Right here is where you can decide what you want the size to be. The default size is always 100, but you can change it. The direction is determining what way your sprite is facing. So you can change it wherever you'd like, but many of the direction operations have this circle and arrow to navigate through which way you want it. Then finally, this is the directional view. You can choose wherever you'd like to see the sprite to be, and based on that, the X and Y will change. This will be helpful when you use the other operations. This is where you can choose what you want your sprite to be. You can choose from a catalog of sprites. You can paint your own, you can choose a random, or you can upload from your computer. This is the same case with the backdrop. You can choose one from a catalog, you can paint it, surprise it, or upload it from your computer. So now when we get to the left side of the screen, you have a bunch of categories that sorts out all of the different programs that you can use in the code. Today we'll go over the motion, the looks, the sound, some of the events, and then some of the controls. The motion section refers to anything that has to do with directly moving the sprite. The move block right here will allow the sprite to move forward however many steps you'd want. You can also change the direction by making it go backwards by using a negative number. This turn block will turn the sprite however many degrees you'd want it to go. And to help you navigate through this, you can always look back at the directions. Over here you'll see some blocks that have to do with the X and Y coordinate. And once again, that has to do with the grid. You can change it to make it go wherever you'd want it to go. So if I bring it over here, you can see the X position is negative 162, and the Y position is 97. Now if I bring this right back to its original place, it will go back to that spot. Now instead of saying go, you can also change it to glide. And by having a glide, instead of directly going to the spot, it would slowly move towards it. You can also change the speed of this by changing the time. So if you'd want it to go slower, you'd increase the number. And if you want it to go faster, you decrease the number. Now to move on to the looks. These looks can help you when you want the characters to display or say something. So here you can type whatever message you'd want it to say, and you can choose however much time you want it to have it for. And this is the same thing, but with the think, you'd see bubbles instead. Right here, this refers to the costumes. Now the costumes are a set of different characteristics of the original sprite. Now these costumes can either be default or you can paint them. To see if the character has any default costumes, you can check right here. And by clicking costumes, you can see what it has. Now for the costume that I'm going to be making, I'm going to be deleting this costume, copying this one and pasting it back right here. For my second costume, I'm going to be painting on top of it. So you click on the brush and change the color to whatever you want. Then you can paint directly onto it. You can also change the size right here. Now I'm going to name the costume according to what it is. So this will be Singing Cat. And then costume 1 will be Normal Cat. And if you go back to the code, you can see switch costume 2, and you'll have all of the costumes that you've made. So if I have Normal Cat, it will stay as normal. If I switch it to Singing Cat, the Singing Cat appears. So I'm going to switch it back to normal. And now here, you can have all the backdrops that you've chosen, and then you can change it. So right now, the backdrops that I have, I only have one, which is a grid. I'm going to choose 2 more backdrops to have. I'll have one as a blue sky, and then I'll choose another one as the concert. So now you can switch the backdrop to all of the ones that you've chosen. So I'll have it as the blue sky. For the sounds, there's only one thing to go over for now, and that is the play sound until done. So this sound will play, this block will allow you to play this whatever sound you'd want until the program is done. So right here, if you click on the sound, you can see how many sounds there are, and it's the same thing. You can choose a sound, record it, have a random, or upload a sound. So I'll stick with the classic meow, and it can play the sound. When you go down here to the events, the only one that we'll be looking at right now is the when flag clicked. As you can see, this flag is also up here. So this will allow you to put all of the blocks that you want underneath it, and it will run all of them in a sequence when you click on the green flag. Then the control will only be looking at the wait 1 second, and we can go over this a little bit more when we're actually making the animation. So now we're going to actually start making our animation. So I'll go down to events and then added the green flag. This is where we'll be building our program. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to be making the sprite go all the way to the top of the screen and then drop in, but when he drops in, the background will turn into a concert and then he will be singing. So the first thing I want is to have the cat start up at the top of the screen. So I'll have go to this X and Y position. Then I'll have him glide down to the middle of the screen. So let's see how that looks. The one problem with this is after it goes to the top, it comes down right away, but I'd want it to wait for a little bit. So this is where the wait button will come in. So I'll add a wait 1 second and see how that looks. So now he's waiting in between each move, which is what we want to have. Now after the cat drops in, I'm going to first change the backdrop. I'll have the switch backdrop to the concert, and at the same time he's going to switch his costume to the singing cat. I'm going to have him move down just a little bit more so that he's in the center of the concert stage. So since this is y negative 3. I'm going to make it go a little bit lower and have it as y negative 20. I'm going to make it a little bit lower. That's good. So as you saw, as I was clicking this, you can see when it goes up and down, the background is still at a concert. So at the end of the code, I'm going to have it switch backdrop back to the blue screen. Then he's also going to switch his costume to the normal cat. But he does need to be singing for a while, so I'll have another wait in between for about 2 seconds. And now finally we're going to add the sound. Play the meow sound until done. So now let's see how the code runs. So it worked fine that time, but we just need to have the blue sky in the background to begin with. So instead of having the blue sky at the bottom, I'll have switch costume to normal cat, but I'll put the blue sky at the top. So now, no matter when we start, it will start with the blue sky. So let's start it. So now it works. It first starts off by switching to the blue sky. It then goes back to the top of the screen. It waits for 1 second, comes down to the middle, switches the background to the concert, and also turns on its singing. I'll play the sound, wait 2 seconds, and then it will return back to normal. So now that we've gone over all of the basics, we can move on to harder things in the other videos. We'll be looking at different sensing, operations, variables, and how to use logic. So hopefully you now have a better foundation of how to use Scratch. Thank you.